So in today's review, guys, I will be reviewing this Dukedog, Great Western Dukedog by Bachmann. And this is one of my best Great Western locos I have. I like it quite a lot. As you can tell, this one's a weathered one. I went through a weathered phase with my collection. And this is weathered by Bachmann themselves. And it's with the Early emblem. The only issue I want to stress with this locomotive is even though the tender and loco are permanently connected by a plug, the other connection between the loco and tender does sometimes come loose and you end up pulling the tender or train by the plug, and that can put stress on the plug. That's my only issue, but I've got to be honest, so let's get into it and see what it's all about, shall we? Let's see how good this one really is. As we start off at the detail bag that you do get quite a bit, if I'm honest with you. You get the brake rigging for the tender, you get some chain link couplings and hooks for the locomotive, you get some fireman shovels and tools, and I think you also get what I believe is something for the speaker, and some screws for that, and some other housing stuff. Get quite a lot actually. As we move on to the front of the locomotive is weathered, just to let you know. Starting off at the buffer beam area, the buffer beams themselves are not sprung, but they are metal and they do look quite nice. We also have some holes in there for detail parts. We also have a vacuum pipe and a small tension lock coupling too. I think there's some rivets on the buffer beam as well. Moving up, we have at least 3 lamp irons along the bottom. We also have the bracing for the smoke box door and boiler. That is nice. There's some rivets around there as too, from what I can see. There's a handrail. There's also what I think is the number of the locomotive, which is 9022, if I got that correct. It's heavily weathered, I can't really see it. We also have a dart in the middle, and that is separately applied by the looks of it. There's some steps dotted around there too. And we have a handrail at the top, and then we have the Great Western style chimney as well to finish it off. As we move on to the side of the locomotive is heavily weathered. As you can tell, really heavily. It does look quite nice, actually, if I'm honest with you. We do have outside frames and motion. Also have the brake rigging applied on the driving wheels. The wheel configuration is a 440. We have a separate applied chimney, dome, and whistles and safety valves. We also have an air gap with no motion inside, but we have some air gap. We also have some lamp irons next to that as well. We also have a handrail, springs and splashers as well, which are outside the splashers. As we move on to the other side of the locomotive, it pretty much is the same as the other side, but with a few differences. We do have a superheater near the chimney. We also have what I think is a reverser near some washout plugs. I could be wrong, it might not be a reverser. We also don't have any lamp irons around here, near where the hole is in the boiler and frames. But what we do have is steps. We have steps the other side too, near the cab. We're on this side too. We also have handrails along the boiler and near the cab. And we have the number of the loco and the route availability, which the number of the loco is 9022 and the route availability is yellow B, I believe. We have a small handrail at the top near the roof of the cab too. As we move on to the bit that I think everyone looks forward to in the review, Bachmann haven't let you down here whatsoever. Everything in here is painted in the cab. We have glazing in the windows. We also have the dials have been painted, the reverser handle has been painted, the water gauge has been painted, and most of the piping is in copper, or how it should be in real life. We also have a wood flooring effect going on the floor, along with the metal strip that stops the crew falling between the loco and tender. We also have handrails on tender and loco as well. Onto the tender. The tender is highly detailed for the bits it's got. It has a holder for where the fireman puts his tools and stuff. We also have something for the water scoop and air stuff. Some handles there. They are delicate. They might break if you're rough with them. It is a highly detailed cab and tender. As we move on to the tender sides, both tender sides are exactly the same. This one is heavily weathered like a lot of the loco is. This is in a BR black with Early emblem. As you can see on the tender side there, these hundreds of rivets all dotted around on that tender. We also have what I believe are moulded axles and steps too. You can also see some brake stuff down on the wheels as well, and the wheels are metal. and we have handrails as well either side too. As we move on to the back of the tender. The back of the tender has no sprung buffers, but I believe they are metal. We also have some holes on the buffer beam for some detail from the detail bag. We have a vacuum pipe already added, I believe. We also have a small tension lock coupling too. It is weathered. As we move up a bit, we also have handrails either side of the tender. We do have which looks like 2 steps as well, 3 lamp irons and 1 right at the top. And there also is some rivets dotted around on the back of the tender too. As we do a bird's eye view of top of the tender, starting where the water goes, you can see a water cat where you put the hose in and stuff like that to fill up the water for the locomotive. You also see a dome. There's a few rivets dotted around there as well. We also have some moulded hooks by the looks of it for chains and stuff to put tarpaulin over the tender and cab, from what I understand. As we move across a little bit, we can also see the coal load. The coal load is shiny, but it isn't too bad. It's quite smaller when you look at it, but it is made of metal, and that is a good thing, gives the tender some weight. You also see some holders or something, I think they're for the tarpaulin, I believe. We also see a little slot at the top of the screen where the fireman would put his tools as well, and you can also see some of the stuff that the fireman would handle during the journey with the handrails. And as we move on to the bird's eye view of the locomotive, there isn't much to look at here, as I say, because it's heavily weathered, you can't really see much. But there's a few rivets on the cab that is there. We also have a whistle and safety valve. I think the whistles are metal, if I'm honest with you. You also have a few washout plugs you can see. We also have a massive dome with a little spike on the top. We have the chimney too. You can also see the superheater again. Some handrails as well. And if you look closely, you can also see what I believe is the smoke box dart at the front. The chimney, you can look all the way down if you want to put a smoke unit or something in there. That is good, but most of the stuff on top is heavily weathered and I can't really make out what's there, so I do apologise. As we do a underneath look at the chassis and stuff like that, there's no pickup on the front wheel, but we do have a small tension lock coupling there. You can also see the buffers as well. As we move across, we do have 2 big driving wheels, and they do pick up, all 4 of the wheels actually pick up. We also see the outside rods and the brake stuff already added because it's outside brakes by the looks of it. You can also see the steps too. We have at least 4 screws to get to the base plate, which I think might be hardwired if I'm honest with you. There isn't really much to see, but what is there is quite nice. The pickups are great because you're on the 4 driving wheels. I do like that. And finally, as we move across to the connection and tender, we'll start off with the connection. The connection is the old-fashioned Bachmann one with a little like plastic hook or something going through a hole to connect the loco and tender. If you're not careful, it's not properly connected, you can damage the loco because it has plugs and they are expensive to fix from what I've been told. But I do like the plug. The plug is nice. At least the plug's halfway in the tender instead of near the beginning of the tender. Gives the wires a bit more time to stretch. It is great. The wheels are metal. And mine are not perfectly clean, but they are metal. We do have a lot of copper strips. They are for pickups and they are also for the sound, I believe. You get like a round circle thing in the detail. That's where it goes in the tender, I believe. We also have a water scoop, which I do like water scoops as well. We do also have a small tension lock coupling at the front. There is some holes in here for the brake rigging that's in the detail bag as well. So that's it on the tracks, guys. Next up will be the points and second radius test. So here goes. Let's see how well it can do. About 25. too bad. About 25 for DC is not bad. So yeah, it managed that pretty well. A little bit fast over the points, but it is what it is. And next up will be some slow speed. So here it goes. Not too bad. What is that? 20? It's not too bad. Not bad for DC, a little slower than it was over the points, but it's still quite a nice loco. So yeah, that's the end of the review. I do apologise if the running session is a little bit short. Before I give you my opinion, I'll show you what it was running with, or pulling, shall we say. A mixed rake of BR standard Great Western stuff. Apart from, I think, the end coach could be a middling one. It looks the business. It's only a 2p that BR rated it, so I thought I'd do it. I don't mind, it doesn't look too bad. The weathering is nice by Bachmann. My only gripe with the Bachmann logos of this era, like I said before, is the simple fact is the plug and the tender connection are not permanent. The plug is, but the tender connection isn't, and if you're not careful enough, you will be pulling the train and the tender around by the plug, and that can damage it. That's the only gripe I have with these. If they're more like the Hornby style ones, yeah, it's a winner. It's got pickups on the tender as well. It's a nice, lovely thing. Just like the cities. The City Class by Bachmann is fantastic as well. Highly recommend these to anyone, even non-Great Western fans. Sorry to say, they are quite nice. I'm an Alinear fan, and I highly rate these, and I love them. I have two cities, and I have this Dukedog. Highly rate them. Very, very nice. Very good work by Bachmann. High details. Fantastic. So that's my opinion. I'll see you in the next review, or the next video. Please take care, and goodbye.